you've got to learn to see. The camera, when you take a photograph just straight on, records everything that it sees. You don't see as much as the camera sees. You usually focus in on something that you're interested in. And when you take the photograph, it's so small in relationship to the whole thing. So what you have to learn to do is, you have to learn how to focus in on what you want to say and decide what's the best way of communicating your idea. And I think that applies to anybody, to a painter, to a photographer, to an architect when he's designing something. He has something special in mind that he wants to capture. Why do they take photographs? Do you take it because you want to keep a record of where you went? Or you want a picture of somebody that you may not see again and you want to have it? Or you see a beautiful sunset and it's so beautiful and you have your camera and you want to capture it. Well, all of those things involve different approaches. If you just want a record of something, it doesn't involve looking at it from an artistic point of view. You just want to capture what you saw. But if you are moved by what you've seen and you want to capture that particular movement, that feeling that you have, then you have to decide what kind of tools you're going to do with that, because just taking a photograph isn't going to do it. That involves decisions, and it involves using techniques. And if you don't know the techniques that you can use to paint or express what you're seeing, it won't work. Actually, photography today is just another art form. It's another medium. In fact, it's mediums in mediums, because photography, well, there are so many things that you can do in photography that you couldn't do earlier. You can remove things. You can manipulate it to do what you want it to do. You couldn't do that in the beginning. You didn't have the equipment, the tools, the way to do that. But once you rely on tools, you're getting into making decisions about what you want in your painting. Not what you see, but what you want to see. And that's different. Dolph and I used to go out together. He with his camera and me with my paints. Well, as you all know, it doesn't take long to take a picture in comparison to painting something. And it got so that we would try and do the same thing our own way, in our own medium. And I have a couple of examples here. It's interesting to see how he tackled the subject and how I did. Very differently. This is my husband's picture of I think it was an agave or a century plant, I'm not sure. I think it's very lovely, but it's very design-oriented. We know that it's a plant, but the emphasis isn't so much on what kind of a plant it is. It's the pattern that makes it so interesting. Well, when I wanted to do that, I looked at that cactus and I saw something very different. I didn't actually see as much pattern as he did. I saw those thorns, and they fascinated me because that's how that plant affected me. And I saw the shapes. It was quite sculptural. So my interpretation is an emphasis on the thorns rather than the way the cactus spread out into a pattern. There's a big difference. And also, for some reason or other, my painting looks ominous. I was thinking of the thorns. And I think I captured that. Whereas Dolph, when he was looking at this cactus, he didn't see it necessarily as a flower or as a plant. I think he saw a very interesting pattern of shapes. Well, this is the Alabama Hills. Dolph and I went up there one day, and we weren't sure that we were going to do the same thing. We walked around and found a place that suited us, each of us. I think Dolph's photograph is beautiful and communicates more of a mood and a feeling than my little painting, my little sketch does, because of how he used his values in emphasizing what he wanted to do, and it has a lovely mood. My little sketch is what it is. It's a sketch. And I just sketched what I saw. I didn't have a particular feeling about the rocks as I think Dolph did. So there you are. You can see that sometimes you can communicate much more mood in photography than you can in a little sketch. If I had really wanted to do a painting of that place, it would have been a much larger painting, and it would have taken in a lot of different decisions, and I'd have to decide exactly how I wanted it to appear. I call my little painting here a sketch simply because I didn't take into mind exactly how I wanted it to see or be. I was taken with the shapes and how some of the little shadows defined them. Dolph's photograph, you can't miss it. It's so dramatic and so contrasting and so moody. When I look at my little sketch, had I wanted to make a painting, a real big painting, I would have to decide when I would want to do it, whether I'd want to do it later in the afternoon or in the morning. But I think when you look at the two together, mine looks so light and bright and not at all as heavy or as sculptural as Dolph's photograph is. I love Rhyolite. Dolph and I have gone up to that place many times, and I'm sorry to say that it's really disintegrated. Parts of those buildings have disappeared, and it's kind of sad in a way. But it's a fascinating place, and we went there several times. We didn't exactly paint the same things. We were drawn to different views. And of course, Dolph is so good when it comes to something dramatic. And I didn't see the drama as much as he did. And I think my painting is really more of a record of the place than an artistic interpretation, which I think Dolph's is. He waited for the right lighting. He knew what he wanted, and it's an exciting photograph to me. My painting, to me, is more of a record. I will say that I was fascinated with the environment. I didn't see the drama. I saw, in a way, the drabness that the desert can often appear to be. And I think that that's what I saw more. I saw something that was dead. But Dolph saw a wonderful mood, and he captured it very well. When I was preparing for a show at the museum called The Many Moods of Owens Lake, I had gotten together quite a number of photographs that I had taken, and in preparation for this show, I spent almost a year and a half going down to the lake and taking pictures at night and during the day, in winter and in summer. I wanted to capture the essence of what I thought was Owens Lake. Well, in order to do that, I had to take a lot of photographs. And the photographs became a very essential tool for me. One day I sat down with a whole bunch of these photographs of a same place, and I thought, you know, maybe I can do a collage with these photographs. But I want it all in one, I want one picture, and I want it to say something. Well, it's going to say Owens Lake. Well, I was playing with these photographs, and I started trying to design with them. And the next thing I knew, I had something that, to me, looked like a blanket. I cropped a lot of these things to fit into a pattern, a recognizable image, but still a pattern. It was like doing the warp on a carpet. And then I thought, well, this is my Owens Lake blanket. I didn't know, I had people who were confused when they looked at it. They weren't quite sure where the mountains were and where the desert ended, and then suddenly the mountains appear again. They didn't quite understand it, but they did know one thing. They really got a feeling of the essence of Owens Lake. And that's what I wanted to do. But photography played a very important role in that particular painting for me. It was just another tool.